This is Black Views, bringing you the Black News. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today, our subject is going to be in reference to the 14th Amendment. I will be using Jason's Black examples, and yesterday he did a beautiful video essay explaining the 14th Amendment in detail, and I would like to use it for today's lesson. But before we move to that, I just wanted to speak on it for a second and how I feel that as Black people, as foundational Black Americans, we have been betrayed. And who have we been betrayed by? Our Black politicians. We didn't read the 14th Amendment because we assumed there are people that worked in Congress that had the best interests of Black people. We never were to think that politicians, well, we understood that politicians weren't perfect, but total betrayal because the Democratic Party, as well as Black people in the Democratic Party, betrayed us. And for so long, they have betrayed us. And I just find it, kind of odd how, President Trump would happen to bring up the 14th Amendment and not one Democrat says, let's look into it further. Let's see. They're all saying that he's trying to put immigration or push immigrants out of the door. That he's trying to keep them from their legal constitutional rights, which they don't have. And by the end of this particular video, you're going to understand that the 14th Amendment was not for them. So without further ado, let me allow Jason Black from the Foundational Black Authority explain it in his best ways. Thank you, and stand by.
And that brings us to simple facts and truth as we discuss about the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, specifically written for us, specifically written because of us, specifically written to address for us. And there's something I want you to go over here. I want to go over this because BET is going to show you exactly why people are trying to distort this thing. Now, in their article, they said, ratified in 1868, the 14th Amendment is one of the Reconstruction Amendments designed to secure the rights of formerly enslaved people. It granted citizenship to, quote, all persons born or naturalized in the United States, overturning the infamous 1857 Dred Scott versus Sanford decision, which had declared that Black people, free or enslaved, could never be citizens. The 14th Amendment was a profound rejection of a dehumanizing doctrine, establishing equality and due process under the law as cornerstones of American governance. Trump's executive order threatens to reverse this progress, taking aim at birthright citizenship, which is not the same as what's in the 14th Amendment, taking aim at birthright citizenship and undermining the very amendment that shot down the Dred Scott ruling. Attorneys general from Arizona, Oregon, Washington, and Illinois have already sued, describing Trump's order as a modern-day attempt to resurrect the principles of Dred Scott. Now, these are states. Oregon was a sundown state. Forget the damn sundown town. We're talking about sundown states. And when you go take a look at the state of the Black population in Oregon today, in Washington State today, in Arizona today, they got a whole lot of brass to sit up here and talk about resurrect the principles of Dred Scott. You all never got rid of them. Your states never got rid of them. I've been to these places. Folks, I've been to these places. Hop your ass out in Chandler, Arizona, Tucson, Arizona. Get off of Interstate 5 in Oregon. And you will very quickly see, you are a fish out of water. They go on to say that this isn't hyperbole. It's a calculated move to roll back over 150 years of civil rights progress. Their emergency motion read, President Trump and the federal government now seek to impose a modern-day version of Dred Scott. You should not be naming the Dred Scott unless you have defended us. If you have not defended the descendants of the slaves, how dare you sit up here and try to go in front of the Supreme Court and tell them that somebody else is trying to impose Dred Scott, and your states have been enforcing it ever since. You've been undermining our rights ever since, and you have the gall to sit up here and talk about to invoke Dred Scott when you have been the people perpetuating it. They go on down here to say, no president in modern history has dared to issue an executive order contradicting a constitutional amendment. Why? Because constitutional amendments are not optional. They are the highest law of the land, requiring rigorous legal processes to amend or interpret. Yet, in Trump's America, this foundational principle is up for grabs. His administration will more than likely fast-track the issue to the Supreme Court, banking on the conservative majority to reinterpret the 14th Amendment. Not reinterpret it, properly interpret it. This is not just a theoretical concern. The same court that dismantled Roe v. Wade, a precedent many believed untouchable, you can believe whatever you want to, it was not constitutional. Roe v. Wade was not constitutional. Nothing in the Constitution says anything about abortion. Do you realize the stretch you have to try to make up to find something in there and say, oh, this is referring to it? No, it's not. No, it isn't. The same court that dismantled Roe v. Wade could very well entertain Trump's audacious bid. If the court upholds his order, it would set a dangerous precedent. The Constitution could be overridden by executive fiat. First of all, they ignore the Constitution every damn day where we're concerned. When the hell is the last time that they acknowledged the Constitution where we're concerned? They trample the Constitution on a daily damn basis where we're concerned. We are denied due process every damn day. We're denied due process in America every day. While they're talking about executive fiat. When did they upheld our constitutional rights? When have they done that? Do you realize how stupid you sound talking about executive fiat? They override the Constitution. They override it every damn day. They go on to say a slippery slope for civil rights. If Trump can rewrite the 14th Amendment, what's stopping him from targeting others? Could he issue an executive order nullifying the 15th Amendment, which prohibits racial discrimination in voting? Folks, have we been protected from racial discrimination in voting? What? Somebody tell me when we have been protected from racial discrimination in voting. Why the hell do we need the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act if the 15th Amendment protected racial discrimination in voting, people? If the 15th Amendment protected us, why the hell did we need the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act? Somebody needs to go tell Clay here, because apparently he doing light-skinned stuff. He don't know. Clearly he doesn't. He's trying to educate us about the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. And yet clearly he is unaware of the history after that. Clearly he is unaware. Clearly he's unaware. Imagine the implications in a modern America where mass incarceration disproportionately affects black and brown communities. The prison industrial complex has already been criticized as a loophole that perpetuates systemic exploitation. But repealing or undermining the 13th Amendment would obliterate any remaining safeguards against forced labor. When have we been protected? When have we been protected? What is he talking about? Forced labor, what is he talking about? Black Americans should be particularly concerned. Here they come with the scare tactics. The 14th Amendment wasn't just about birthright citizenship. Now, remember what I told you all there before. Remember when I said the 14th Amendment is not about birthright citizenship, not the way you all are trying to say this. So you notice that he's very concerned about birthright citizenship. So individuals who do not identify with us and do not pledge their allegiance to blackness and instead pledge their allegiance to their lineage for the purposes of separating themselves from us and distinguishing themselves from us, that birthright citizenship is very important to them. You see, they didn't fight for a claim, and they're not actually owed a claim, so they put all their stock on the birthright citizenship thing. That's not us. That's not us. And I'll explain to you why. By the way, anybody who wants to have a scholarly look at this, I'll explain to you why, because there'll be jackasses out there who will try to argue it. They don't actually understand these things, and they listen to other folk and they have an agenda. No, we'll just go through the text of it. It was a hard-fought victory for equality, justice, and the right to exist as full citizens in this country. To dismantle it is to open the door to the erosion of all rights gained through the blood, sweat, and tears of those who came before us. Who are the those, dude? Who are the those? They keep leaving out who the those are. This isn't just about immigrants. Damn! Yes, it is. So you notice that, folks, take a look at what he's doing. He gets down there at the end and it's like, okay, then they start stomping for what they really came for. This is the tactic they always use. This is about black, 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 black. They coming for you and me, black, brother, black, 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 black. And then right when they get to the end, here comes the swerve. Right when he gets to the end, they, just like Kamala Harris, the Democrat Party, and everybody else, when they're trying to sit up here and sell you some detour and sell you some jive talk, they'll say black, 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 black. Right when you get to the policy part, here comes the swerve. So he's here to tell you, look, this isn't just about immigrants or children born to non-citizens. Why are you mentioning them if it's not about them? If it's not about them, why are you mentioning it? They always come with the damn sleight of hand and the smoke and mirrors and the shell game. If it's not about them, why are you mentioning them? It's about the power of a president to circumvent the Constitution, the guardrails of democracy, and the rights of every citizen. So now all of a sudden he's Alexander Hamilton. It's about a leader who gave blanket pardons to January 6th insurrectionists. Dude, do you really want to get into the blanket pardons thing after what Joe Biden pulled? Trump did that right after Joe Biden. Okay. Dude, you're standing on wet sand. Just bad idea, dude. Bad idea. Bad. Some of whom engaged in violent attacks on law enforcement and democracy itself, while simultaneously attempting to undermine the very Constitution they swore to uphold. This is bigger than politics. Trump's actions are a direct challenge to the principle that no one, not even the president, is above the law. Yet Joe Biden's been above the law? All right. Which president hasn't been? And if you think this has nothing to do with you, think again. The erosion of constitutional protections doesn't stop with one group or one amendment. It's a domino effect. And sooner or later, you will feel the impact. Now, you've all watched and witnessed as on social media, they have tried in vain to tell all of us that, you know, first Trump gonna put the illegals on the buses, then they coming for you, FBA. They coming for all of you next. First they gonna get us, then they gonna come get you. Which, of course, is nonsense. But this is what they have to do. Because they're hoping that there are enough slow people out there who won't get it and won't understand. So let's go ahead and clear this up real quick. This is the text from the 14th Amendment. It says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. Citizens, not residents. Damn! Are you listening to me over there, Mr. Clay? See, this doesn't apply to us because we are citizens, not residents. We predate the Europeans being here, and even those who were brought over here on slave ships or by any other means, those were not residents. Illegal aliens may be residing or they may be present, but you're not a citizen. So this is where it falls apart. And this is why I'm telling you that these other folks trying to tell you that you have squatters' rights. The 14th Amendment is not granting squatters' rights. Let me explain to you why, folks. And they're going to hate you for this. They're going to hate when somebody comes along and explains this. But pay attention. That first sentence up there. All persons born or naturalized in the United States. Now, that was referring specifically to the slaves and former slaves or anybody who could end up 12 years a slave and pressed into servitude illegally. That was putting the exclamation point on it. All persons born or naturalized. You have to understand the context in which that was being written. If you were a slave, what they were saying was that because of 13th Amendment, emancipation, and all of that, they were acknowledging that we are now naturalized. You're already born and whatnot, but it's just saying, okay, you're born or naturalized. That covered us on both halves. That covered us on both sides. You don't have a legal argument one way or the other. Okay, if they're the slaves, they were either born or we're now naturalizing them. But this covers them, so there's no mechanism for you to deny their citizenship. You can't say, well, okay, well, the children were born, so they're citizens, but I own Dredd over here now. He was beforehand. I own him. No, we've naturalized him. So both Dred Scott and his descendants, he's naturalized, the descendants are born. And actually, he was born, but just in case anybody tries to argue that his being born isn't enough, he's naturalized. So that is it. That is it. That is the government saying that this covers you. This covers and legitimizes your citizenship status. You are no longer property. No one can come up and make an argument that you're property. You are a citizen. And they can only argue that you're born or naturalized. Well, you're covered. And you are subject to the jurisdiction of these state and federal governments. And no one can make a law that abridges that. Now, let me go back to that first clause there again, because the reason that had to be made is, remember something, folks. There's something you all have to remember about slavery. Slavery only applied to us. There's a bunch of you out there who there's a bunch of folks out there who try to play the con game on you and say indentured servants were slaves. No, they were not. Indentured servants were not property. People, I'm trying to do my brother Neely Fuller thing right now. You don't have to go into a long drawn out explanation with somebody. If they try to bring up and compare indentured servants to slaves, no, they were not slaves, because indentured servants were not property. They had a bad record deal. What? That's what indentured servants had. They just had a crappy record deal. They were not property. They were not property. Their children were not property. These other folk are hoping you don't know that. They were exactly what the word said, indentured servants. They just had a bad record deal. That's all they had. But they were not property. And furthermore, they chose that. They made a decision. You're not a slave when you say, hey, let me go ahead and do this for you right here. They had their rights, and their rights were acknowledged. They had their rights, and their rights were acknowledged. So don't go round and round with nobody. I just told you exactly what you need to say. They bring up indentured servants. Hey, dude, indentured servants were not property, nor were their children property. So what else you got? And if they tried to say something else, were they anybody's property? No, they were not. Could they be sold? No, they couldn't. And that's the end of that. They're just hoping that you don't know how to debate it or you don't understand the difference between the two. And then now they got you saying, well, you know what I mean? But it was really bad for us. No, it wasn't really bad for us. We were the only slaves. It was all right for y'all. We were the only ones. It wasn't bad for you and really bad for us. You're okay. We were the only ones who had it bad. Period. But here's the other thing. From the first clause up there, all persons born or naturalized. Once again, that is only referring to the slaves and the descendants of the slaves. It was only referring to us because white men's naturalization was never in question. Damn! There's the other part of it. No one ever disputed the Europeans who came over here, whether they had documents or not. No one ever disputed their citizenship, their presence, their residency, their rights. No one ever disputed them. No one was going to court and as a group. Don't try to bring out some individual. No one was disputing white people who were white immigrants. No one was disputing their naturalization status. No one disputed their status as naturalized citizens. That's how you know the 14th Amendment, it was only referring to us. Show me where they were disputing anybody else. They were only disputing us. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. One more thing here. Anybody bringing up football or Super Bowl, you're probably going to end up getting banned. I may be nice tonight and just kick you out for 24 hours. But you want to go discuss football? Go get back under your mama's skirt is where you need to be. You in grown folks' business over here. You in grown folks' business here. Let's be very clear about that. Some folks got slow. I don't know whether they just heard me talking there. By the way, let me just go ahead and get you out of here. Since very clearly you want to focus on something else, let me go ahead and let you focus on that for the rest of your life. Moving right along here in the tradition of Brother Neely Fuller, now that that problem has been resolved. No one was ever questioning white people's naturalized status. No one was ever questioning whether or not they were citizens because they were naturalized. So white people didn't need an amendment. They didn't need the Constitution to protect them because the Constitution already protected them. So that is once again reinforcing, this only applied to us. This was only spurred by us. 13th Amendment, who were the slaves? Why did you have to outlaw slavery? Show me the white slaves. If slavery wasn't about, here's another thing that gets y'all bad. Some of y'all who hang around the Ben Shapiros and the Thomas Sowells and the Larry Elders and the rest of the jackasses out there who try to tell you that slavery wasn't about race, it was about class. If slavery was not about race, show me the white slaves. Damn! If slavery was not about race, show me the white slaves. Okay, now that we fixed that. Now that we fixed that. So once again, when you go over these constitutional amendments, they were specifically referring specifically to us. They were not referring to anybody else. They were not talking about anybody else. The United States government got together to discuss our business, to address specifically us, No one else was a slave. No one else was eligible to become property. No one else could have them and their children sold into slavery. No one else's human rights were being violated and written into law. Just us. So when you write an amendment about slavery, you're referring to only us. That's it. Not a class of people, a race of people. Because none of these other, quote, classes were eligible to be property. And when you had to follow up with the 14th and 15th Amendments, that's because the states and other people were trying to ignore or circumvent the 13th Amendment. So you had to come back and make two more amendments specifically to think about that for a few moments. You only had to do the First Amendment one time. The Second Amendment one time. You didn't have to have any other amendments to protect the First and Second Amendment because folks weren't trying to circumvent them. They made the 13th Amendment, which is clear as damn day, and then had to immediately come back and put in two more amendments, not one amendment, two more amendments to reinforce the 13th Amendment, because that's how dedicated to upholding and enforcing white supremacy America was and is. That you couldn't just have one amendment and we go on about our business. You got to come back and go make two more amendments because people keep violating the first one. That's what it was. And it wasn't for no immigrants. You had plenty of white immigrants over here. Nobody was violating them. Go read the story of the Oklahoma Panhandle if you don't believe me, and how the Oklahoma Panhandle became what it is. If anybody wants to try to make the ignorant, stupid-ass argument that any white immigrants or white people's citizenship or their presence here was not being honored, go look up the story of the Oklahoma Panhandle, and that'll put the lie to that one very quickly. That'll put the lie to it very quickly. So when you talk about if you were born or naturalized, we are the only people that being born here or naturalized here was not being honored. The fact that you were born here or naturalized under law, we ain't paying that no attention. So we had to make a 14th Amendment to say, okay, stop messing with the damn former slaves. That's what the 14th Amendment basically says. Stop messing with the damn former slaves. Knock it off. Knock it off. We meant what we said in the 13th Amendment. Yes, stop it with the garbage. That's what the 14th Amendment is saying. Stop playing with the former slaves. They're here now. They're here. We're acknowledging them. They're here. And even after that, you had to come back with a 15th Amendment. But let's be very, very clear. 13, 14, and 15, they were written for us. They were specifically referencing us, and they were specifically addressing us. And then after that, because white supremacy is an evolutionary organism, you had individuals in the courts, individuals in the government who decided to start diluting and watering down 14 and 15, but specifically 14. They started attacking 14 and stretching it and expanding it and bringing other people into it. Not because it actually covered them, but because they wanted to undermine us, which is what every law they quote passed for us. They pass one quote for us, and I told you they immediately go to work undermining it. I just explained it to you. We got the 13th Amendment, and they immediately went to work undermining it. We got the 14th Amendment. They went to work undermining that. Now we're going to have a 15th Amendment. They went to work undermining that. Remember, it doesn't stop with 13, 14, 15, because remember, we still need to have not one, not two, but truthfully 3 Civil Rights Acts. Actually, we've had a number of Civil Rights Acts. We've only had the ones that have to have their name on it. We had a never-ending cascade of Civil Rights Acts, basically trying to put your finger in the holes in the dike to stop the water from coming through. The Voting Rights Act, which you've had a couple of those. So in truth, they never stopped. It never ended. Oh yeah, and one more thing. By the way, the bombing of the Black Wall Streets happened after the constitutional amendments, people. The bombing of the Black Wall Streets happened after 13, 14, 15. Please remember that. Now, if our rights as citizens, if our constitutional rights were ever acknowledged, how the hell, tell me how the state of Oklahoma, Panhandle, Oklahoma blew up the whole damn town. What part of due process was that? Wilmington, North Carolina, same thing. Rosewood, same thing. We'll go down the damn list. Why they flatly ignored our constitutional rights at the city level, the state level, and the federal level. All of them conspired and agreed. You're not covered by, yeah, it's in the law, but you ain't covered by that. We're not going to acknowledge your rights under the 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, or 15th Amendment. Folks, understand something. They went bombing and blowing us up from sea to shining sea. From sea to shining sea. They ignored our rights to due process. That has been the law of the land. There are no white people who have this story. There are no Asians who have this story. There are no Indians, no Arabs, no Latinos who have this story. We're the only ones that this applies to. You can't even sit up here and smoke the biggest crack rock in the world and come to the hallucination this applies to somebody else. You can't name anybody else whose history shows that, oh, this was referring to you. No. You came from Vietnam. You came from Germany. That's your history over there. That 14th Amendment, that's us. Just us. Only us. Only us. We are not illegal aliens. We are legal aliens. Damn! As I have always told you all, I have never said that we are not U.S. citizens. We are U.S. citizens whose rights have not been acknowledged. But y'all know, those of you who've been following me since day one, you know I've always said, no, we are legal aliens. You trespassers, you're illegal aliens. We are born and naturalized, but we're legal aliens under this government. Under this government. Please understand the distinction. White supremacy is about ignoring facts. Yes, we were here before any of them, but under this government, which was established by conquest, under this government, we are legal aliens. Our indigenous status means nothing. It doesn't have the same meaning. So keep that in mind. It's not about what the facts are. We know what the facts are, but the government is like, okay, well, I don't really deal in facts. I'm white and I say so. But we are not illegal aliens. We're not illegal aliens. We are not refugees. We are not trespassers. Let me explain something to you right here. To the Asian folk who claim that they were working on the Intercontinental Railroad, well, there wasn't a single one of you, if you got up and left, somebody was going to come hunt you down and bring you back. Let me just go ahead and get that out the way right quick so that we clarify the clear distinctions here so people stop trying to compare themselves to our experience. You had a different experience from us. There were no white people that if they stopped working on the railroad, somebody was coming to get them to bring them back. If you got up and left, they went to go see if they could find another person from Asia, another person from Ireland, another person from Italy to take your place. They wasn't going to hunt your ass down. You had the Dred Scott decision because if we got up and left, somebody was coming to get us. You had whole acts, the fugitive slave laws. If we got up and left, somebody was coming to get us. If they found you somewhere, they were putting you in handcuffs and taking you back where you were. That's the difference. If you came over here from Cuba, wet foot, dry foot, wasn't nobody from Cuba trying to come and get you back? If you were over here from Mexico after the war and Mexican-American War and you were still over here, wasn't nobody trying to get you back? If you went to work somewhere and you left, you were an employee. When you got up and you had the right to get up and leave, and was nobody coming to get you, you just gone. And they acknowledged and honored your right to leave. We needed 3 amendments because they didn't acknowledge or honor our right to leave. That's the difference. What you've been through ain't what we've been through. You made a choice to come here.
In closing, I hope that you have found the information to be informative. I hope that you could take a good look at what you heard and go read the document for yourself. I want you to understand what the theme was during the time when it was written and who it was for. And you will see that the 14th Amendment was not meant for immigrants. If this does not prove that foundational black Americans should receive reparations for the wrongdoing that have been done to them since the beginning, then you are a fool. And so from there, I'll just say that we can no longer vote with our emotions. We can no longer support stupidity of things that people do because they look like us. But just because you can surely understand there are those there that look like us that are not for us. And I'll leave this with you today so that you can check it out, analyze it, and come to your own conclusion. This is Black Views, bringing you the Black News. Hit the Cash App, also subscribe, follow, hit the white bell so you may receive notifications of all the videos that I create. And thank you very much. I appreciate you.